You never know what a shift will bring. From high-speed pursuits to bizarre behavior on Florida streets, Season 14, Part 1 of Cops delivers a no-holds-barred glimpse in law enforcement's rawest moments. But today we're taking it further. We're diving into the psychology, the chaos, and the consequences. Let's ride. Scene 1, the Burger King pursuit. From fast food to felony narrator, Palm Beach County. Tactical officers in unmarked cars. You'd never know they were watching until it's too late. We open with a surveillance setup. Plainclothes officers tail a suspicious vehicle near a residential area. It's early evening. The streets are quiet, but not for long. Officer radio chatter. We just passed a suspicious vehicle sitting at the entrance. Looks like a transient hit spot. They often hit apartment complexes. Less chance of anyone noticing. Commentary. Why do suspects target these areas? It's not just about access, it's about anonymity. Transient neighborhoods offer cover. No nosy neighbors. Few security cameras. And in a place where nobody knows anybody, criminals blend in like shadows. Back in the field, the driver begins moving. Officers confirm he has a violent criminal history: assault, resisting fleeing law enforcement, and now, a warrant. Officer, he's heading for the Burger King drive-thru. Let's do it. But things unravel fast. The suspect realizes he's cornered and bolts. He tosses packages from the car. Drugs. The scene turns into a foot chase along the canal bank. Real-life parallel. In 2022, a similar incident in Broward County involved a suspect who tossed $5,000 worth of fentanyl into a canal during a police pursuit. These toss-and-run tactics are common, especially when charges could stack to trafficking or felony fleeing. Back to the scene. The driver tries to vanish near dumpsters, but officers and K-9 units close in. Officer yelling, "We got both in custody." Driver and passenger clear. They recover 40-plus packets of crack cocaine and individual baggies of marijuana scattered along the chase path. Officer commentary looks like intent to distribute, maybe even trafficking based on weight. Analysis. Let's be real, drug suspects rarely carry just for personal use in tidy little baggies. The packaging style, the quantity, the flight. These are all indicators that this wasn't just a guy with a joint. It was business, and business was booming until tonight. Legal insight under Florida statutes. Prior 493-1135, trafficking marijuana in excess of 25 pounds carries a mandatory minimum sentence of 3 years. Cocaine even worse. Just 28 grams can trigger 3 years and a $50,000 fine. Scene 2, I'll kill everyone here. Delusions, disorder, and disorderly conduct narrator. We shift scenes to a commercial building where a man is making terrifying threats. "I'll shoot everyone inside." Officers arrive and spot the suspect with a black box and an erratic demeanor. Commentary. These are the hardest calls to judge because they mix mental health unpredictability and the possibility of mass harm. It's not about if the threat is real, it's about whether you can afford to treat it like it's not. Officers draw down. Commands fly. Hands where I can see them. The man protests, claims religious persecution, medical issues, even that he just came from the hospital. "Man, I just drank that tea. It's part of my religion." Analysis, mental health, or manipulation. Not all who act erratically are suffering a breakdown. Some are simply trying to delay arrest. But officers must tread carefully because misreading mental illness can turn fatal. The suspect begins resisting. He's restrained, arrested for disorderly conduct, marijuana possession, and resisting arrest. Officer to suspect, if you had just stopped, you'd be on your way with a ticket. Real-life reflection. Most arrests that escalate don't have to. A 2018 DOJ report found that 85% of use-of-force incidents began with a simple traffic or disorderly stop. The lesson: compliance doesn't equal guilt, but defiance escalates risk. Scene 3. Knife to the throat. Roommates, rage, and reality checks narrator. In another part of town, officers respond to a domestic assault. A man reportedly threatened his roommate with a knife. Officer. When I walked in, he had the knife to the guy's throat. The victim is shaken but alive. He says the fight started over a stolen phone. The suspect, a new roommate barely known. Commentary. Roommate violence is one of the most overlooked forms of domestic conflict. Not lovers, not relatives, but still a powder keg waiting for a spark, often fueled by alcohol or drugs. The knife is secured. The suspect claims it was all a misunderstanding, but cuts on the victim's legs suggest otherwise. Lesson in psychology. When people live under the same roof with unresolved tension and substance use, fights can escalate fast. In this case, one man may be facing felony assault with a deadly weapon, and his excuse: "I just wanted my phone back." Scene 4, caught in the act. Stereo thieves and the power of a 911 call narrator. We move next to a burglary in progress. A resident calls 911. They're breaking into the cars right now. Officers arrive to find two men, one passed out, the other bleeding, and a stolen stereo covered in blood. Field insight. In many car burglaries, it's not about resale value, it's about fast cash or drug trade. Car stereos, phones, and GPS units often become instant currency on the street. "Officer, sir, this stereo has blood all over it. There's blood on your shirt. Want to explain how you got into a fight in Fort Lauderdale and bled on a stereo in West Palm Beach?" The suspect tries to dodge the logic. Commentary. Here's the kicker: one suspect admits the crime. The other denies everything, even as fingerprints, witness descriptions, and blood say otherwise. This is the difference between accepting accountability and digging deeper. Real stats. According to the FBI, only 13.5% of property crimes result in arrests. Why? Because most offenders aren't caught in the act. In this case, the caller's detailed description, clothing, car location gave officers an edge. Takeaway: 911 callers don't just report crime, they often stop it. A good witness can make or break a case. Scene 5, caught in a Speedo, a bizarre DUI encounter narrator. Imagine this: you're a patrol officer. It's just past midnight. You pull over a truck that was spotted urinating in a parking lot. The driver steps out in nothing but a Speedo. "Officer, you generally wear these clothes in public." "No, sir. I was just cruising." Commentary. And here begins one of the most bizarre stops in cops' history. No pants, no license, no clear story, and likely no permission to drive the truck. Officers are baffled by the inconsistencies. The man claims he was just going home from his house without pants, 3 miles away. Analysis, body language, and evasion. The suspect shifts his story repeatedly. This is a hallmark of deceptive behavior. Officers note this and keep asking questions, not to trap him, but to confirm inconsistencies and determine probable cause. They suspect DUI and possibly grand theft auto. "Officer, so if we call the registered owner of this truck, they'll say they gave you permission to drive it." Man pausing: "I don't know their number." Real-life parallel. In a 2017 Florida Keys case, a man was arrested driving a golf cart in only underwear, claiming he was being chased by aliens. Turns out meth was involved. Extreme attire, plus extreme stories, red flags. Scene 6, crack a false identity and a pants-down encounter narrator. Next, officers patrol an area behind a restaurant with known drug and prostitution complaints. They spot a man with his zipper down standing close to a woman who is a known prostitute. "Officer, you gonna work with your pants down?" The man nervously gives a name, Tony Duns, but his ID says something else. Shannon. Commentary: identity evasion. Giving false names to police is more common than you'd think. Some do it to avoid bench warrants or probation violations. But police databases are faster than lies. The twist: officers find crack cocaine in his pocket. Man panicking: "That's not mine. They put it on me." Analysis: this is a textbook deflection, claiming the drugs were planted. But the pocket, they were found in the man's front right. Officers remain calm, document everything, and continue the investigation. "Officer, he came from behind the fence line, pants down, known prostitute beside him, crack in his pocket." Doesn't take a rocket scientist. Real-life insight: drugs and prostitution often overlap. A 2021 DOJ report found 58% of prostitution arrests also involved drug possession. The motivations are intertwined: addiction, desperation, survival. Scene 7, I'm not the driver. Helicopters, foot pursuits, and excuses narrator. Now we turn to a vehicle that fled from a hit involving a firearm. The chase ends in a trailer park with a suspect running on foot. A police helicopter tracks every move. Officers find a man hiding behind a shed. "Officer, so you were just walking around and ran when a car passed with no lights. Man, yeah, man. In my neighborhood, that means robbers. Commentary, the mistaken identity defense. This one's used often. I wasn't in that car. I was just in the area. But when the passenger identifies the man as the driver and a helicopter tracks him, jumping fences, the story falls apart. Real case parallel. In a 2023 Texas case, a fleeing suspect hid under a mobile home after a high-speed chase. Air units relayed his every movement. He too denied involvement until body cam footage showed his face in the driver's seat. Officer takeaway lie once you control the story. Lie twice the evidence controls it. Scene 8. From thief to philosopher, the talkative burglar narrator. Back to another vehicle burglary scene. The suspect is caught red-handed with a stolen stereo and blood on his clothes. Officer, sir, how did blood get on this stereo that was just stolen from a car in this development suspect? I was in a fight in Fort Lauderdale. Officer, deadpan right, and the stereo in West Palm Beach got the blood on it from that fight. Commentary. This moment captures the surreal honesty and absurd denial you often see in interviews. The suspect keeps pushing a story no one believes, not even himself. Psychology insight. Some criminals truly believe that denying everything will buy them time or leniency. But in law enforcement, details matter. Clothing wounds, fingerprints, DNA stories unravel fast under pressure. Scene 9. The Grand Theft Auto and DUI dilemma. Narrator, remember the Speedo suspect officers run the vehicle's registration? It's not in his name. The story gets shakier by the second. Officer, if the owner of the vehicle says you didn't have permission to take it, you're getting charged with GTA. Man, but I was just going to the store. And then they notice there are no pants in the truck. None at all. Commentary. Between the bizarre attire, DUI indicators, and lack of permission, officers have multiple charges at their disposal. But they're calm because stacking charges isn't the goal. Public safety is. Real case parallel. In 2019, a man in Miami was pulled over wearing a towel claiming he lost a bet. His BAC twice the legal limit. Officers often see the strange, but their training keeps them focused on facts. Reflections from the beat. Why they serve narrator. As the night ends, one officer reflects on his journey. Officer confessional. I always wanted to be a police officer or a professional wrestler, but wrestling didn't work out, so here I am. Commentary. These candid moments matter. They remind us that officers aren't machines, they're people. People with stories, with dreams, with reasons to serve. Sociology, insight, law enforcement careers often attract those driven by structure, adrenaline, and a desire to serve. But burnout is real, and moments like these when an officer reflects humanize the badge. Scene 10. Knife at the door. Domestic dispute turns violent narrator. It's late. Officers respond to a call about a man kicking down a door and armed with a knife. When they arrive, he's still inside the home. Officer approaching with firearm drawn. Drop the knife. Turn around on your back, hands on your head. Tension spikes, but the suspect surrenders. The knife is secured. The victim, shaken barefoot with red marks on his arms, tells officers he was threatened with death by his intoxicated roommate. Commentary, alcohol and domestic rage. This isn't a romantic domestic dispute. It's between two male roommates, both of whom had been drinking. And that's important. Domestic violence isn't always about couples. It's about power, control, and aggression in any shared space. Victim. We went out drinking. He got mad because someone stole his phone, said he'd kill me. Insight, in volatile environments, a missing phone becomes the fuse for a grenade, especially when alcohol, pride, and weapons are involved. Real-life parallel. A 2021 case in Tampa showed a man stabbing his roommate over a lost PlayStation controller. Yes, a controller. When tensions are high, anything can trigger chaos. Scene 11, the aftermath. Confessions, blood and denial narrator. The suspect is removed from the house, still agitated. Officer, why'd you say you were going to kill him? Suspect slurring, I didn't say that I ain't trying to kill nobody, but the roommate's leg has a cut. The officer presses. Commentary, verbal versus physical evidence. Words can be twisted, but blood doesn't lie. This is the moment officers must balance compassion with caution, protect the victim, but ensure they aren't jumping to conclusions. Officer, he had a knife to the throat. We stopped something that could have been fatal. Legal analysis in Florida threatening someone with a deadly weapon, regardless of whether it's used, can be classified as aggravated assault, a second-degree felony. Lesson for viewers: don't dismiss roommate violence. If you feel unsafe at home, document everything and seek help before it turns deadly. Scene 12, I didn't do nothing. The verbal spiral narrator. Back at the patrol car, the suspect launches into a tirade. Suspect yelling, "Y'all treat black people bad. I'll sue every one of y'all." Officers remain calm but firm. He tries to shift the focus: racial bias, police brutality, constitutional violations. Commentary: the psychological pivot. This isn't about race, this is about facts. But when suspects panic, they often lean into outrage theater to delay or discredit the arrest. Officers are trained to remain stoic even when being insulted. Sociology insight. According to a Pew Research study, 1 in 4 arrestees claim some form of mistreatment during arrest, whether real or perceived. For officers, it's critical to rely on body cams and professional demeanor to protect the truth. Officer calmly, you're under arrest for disorderly conduct, resisting, and possession. Man screaming, that's not mine. I just came out the hospital. Real-life reflection. Sometimes the loudest defense is covering the weakest case. Scene 13. He set me up. Shifting blame. Finding crack. Narrator: officers investigate further and find a small bag of crack cocaine in the man's front pocket. Officer, what's this suspect? They put it on me, that prostitute and her guy, they set me up. Commentary: the blame game. In the world of policing, this is classic. That's not my coat, not my pants, not my crack. But the evidence is too precise. Officers document the search, take photos, and prep charges. Criminal justice: tip in court possession doesn't mean in your hand, it means within your control. In a pocket, that's yours unless you have a very convincing story. And witnesses. Scene 14, air pursuit. The spike strip showdown narrator. A report of shots fired. A vehicle with 3 occupants flees. Officers pursue from the ground, while air support tracks them from above. Officer radio. They're blacked out, no headlights, headed toward Mulberry. From the sky, the helicopter follows the vehicle through a residential trailer park. The suspects try to ditch the car and flee on foot. Real-time strategy air units provide critical eyes, giving officers safe standoff distance while maintaining visuals. This prevents unnecessary escalation. Officer from chopper driver just bailed. Northbound. Behind the shed, ground units close in. The suspect is caught hiding near a propane tank. Commentary: coordination is king. What makes these arrests successful? Discipline, patience, teamwork. Everyone knows their role. It's not about aggression, it's about control. Tactical insight. The suspect later denies driving, but the passenger confirms it. The story unravels in minutes. Another failed getaway foiled by the sky. Scene 15, I just got off the bus. Another lie falls apart narrator. The man tells officers he just got off the bus. Says a strange car scared him. Officer, so you ran through 3 fences and hid behind a trailer because a car scared you. Suspect, yeah, man. People get robbed here. Commentary: the classic misdirection. When a lie doesn't work, suspects often pivot to victimhood. I'm the one being chased. But with passenger ID, air footage, and location, it doesn't hold. Officer with calm finality: doesn't matter. You're going to jail tonight. Real case parallel. In 2020, an Alabama man used the exact same excuse, claiming a car scared him into a chase. The judge said it best: you don't run from help. Reflection: controlled safe in textbook narrator. The pursuit ends with no injuries, no crashes, and all suspects in custody. Officer to camera. That's how it's supposed to go. Controlled. Textbook. Commentary: why it worked. The scene is a rare example of everything going right. Officers backing off, using tech, communicating clearly. In many cases, rushing in escalates danger. But this is precision policing. Scene 16, it's just a radio. Car burglaries caught in progress. Narrator: a resident sees 3 men breaking into vehicles in a nearby lot and immediately calls 911. Caller panicked. They broke the window. They're pulling the stereo out. Oh my God, they're going to the next car. Patrol arrives fast, catches the suspects red-handed. They don't run. Instead, they lie. Officer, do you know the person whose car you broke into? Suspect, no, sir. I just needed a radio. Commentary, the justification trap. Many criminals try to minimize their actions. It's just a radio. It was unlocked. But that doesn't change the core fact: unauthorized entry into a vehicle, done a burglary. Real-life case parallel. In 2022, a South Carolina man was sentenced to 10 years for breaking into multiple cars and stealing electronics. Even though no one was hurt, the repeat nature and evidence trail made it a felony. Scene 17, that's not me. Denial versus evidence narrator. One suspect continues to deny everything, even with stereo wires sticking out of his pockets. Officer, residents watched you do it. Described your clothes. We have the items right here. Suspect, that ain't mine. I ain't done nothing. The officer calmly points out blood on the stolen stereo, blood on the suspect's shirt, and witnesses describing him in detail. Commentary, open and shut. This is the kind of case officers appreciate, not because it's exciting, but because it's clean. A good witness, clear description, physical evidence, and eventually, a confession. Officer, we don't chase shadows. If it walks like a duck, sounds like a duck, it's a duck. Lesson for viewers, always call if you see a crime. Don't assume someone else will. The more eyes, the more arrests. Scene 18, they robbed me. Flip the script excuses, narrator. As one suspect is cuffed, he flips the narrative. Suspect, they robbed me. I was coming to report it. Commentary, the defensive shift. This is an emotional survival tactic, claim victimhood to distract from the evidence. But timing is everything. You can't be covered in blood and holding a stereo, and then suddenly be the one who was set up. Criminal psychology tip. When suspects invent narratives on the spot, they often contradict earlier statements. Officers ask open-ended questions to let the stories unravel on their own. Officer, you were looking for an officer with a known prostitute, pants down and crack in your pocket, man. They planted it on me. Scene 19, I'm going to work. Caught with pants down, narrator. We revisit a surreal stop. A man is behind a dumpster with a prostitute pants, undone jar of Vaseline nearby. Officer, what are you doing back here? Suspect, I'm going to work. Commentary. The disbelief test. There's an unwritten test in law enforcement. If your story wouldn't pass the jury of common sense, it won't fly. Pants down, known prostitute, drugs in your pocket, you weren't going to work. Real-world data. According to police reports, over 60% of prostitution arrests also involve narcotics. It's rarely just about solicitation. It's often about survival in a cycle of poverty, drugs, and desperation. Scene 20, I don't even know her. Lies collapse fast, narrator. The man denies knowing the woman next to him, despite being caught mid-act. Officer, her name suspect. I don't know her. Officer. Then why is there crack in your pocket and your pants down, behind the same fence? Suspect panicking. She set me up. Commentary, the collapse. Sometimes suspects fold under the weight of too many lies. The fake name, the drugs, the behavior, it all stacks up. Officers don't need to pressure, they just need to listen. Takeaway: consistency matters. When a story changes every minute, credibility evaporates. Scene 21, he was my friend. A victim's dilemma. Narrator, back to the domestic knife scene. The victim must now decide whether to press charges against his roommate. Officer, we'll take your statement. It's up to you to file. Victim, we're both electricians. He pays his bills. He's just not well. Commentary, the complication of care. Many victims care about their abusers, roommates, partners, friends. That emotional tie makes filing charges harder even when their life was in danger. Psychology insight. Victims sometimes rationalize behavior. He was drunk. It was a bad night. But minimizing violence today may lead to tragedy tomorrow. Officer, you had a knife to your throat. That's not just a bad night. Scene 22, I got blood on me. Accidental confession, narrator. Another suspect tries to explain the evidence. Officer, how did the blood get on this stereo? Suspect, because I was bleeding from my knuckles. Commentary, oops. And there it is, the accidental confession. In trying to explain the blood, the suspect confirms he was handling the stolen item. Investigative tip silence is golden for suspects, but most panic and talk too much. Officers are trained to be quiet, wait and let the subject walk themselves into guilt. Scene 23, Final Pursuit, from radio to roadblocks. Narrator. A stolen vehicle flagged in connection to a firearm offense is spotted on the move. Officers coordinate a multi-unit effort to box it in. Officer radio suspect vehicle is still southbound. Cutting across Mulberry. No lights, possibly armed. Air unit overhead. Commentary. Controlled aggression. Chases are always dangerous, but chasing a vehicle possibly involved in a shooting raises the stakes. Officers must maintain public safety while stopping a suspect who may shoot. The vehicle veers off-road, hits a dead end. A man bolts from the passenger side. Air support tracks him through trees and trailers. Officer pursuit. There he is, white tank top. He's tossing something. They finally apprehend him hiding behind a small backyard shed. The rest of the suspects remain inside the vehicle. Real-life tactical note. This is why departments invest in air units. When suspects flee on foot, ground officers are limited. From the sky, no one escapes unnoticed. Scene 24. That's not my car. Lies meet eyewitnesses. Narrator. Post-arrest, the suspect insists he wasn't in the car. Says he was just in the neighborhood. Officer, then why'd you run? Why are you hiding behind a shed? Suspect. That car looked like one used by robbers, so I ran. Commentary. The ghetto car. Excuse officers often hear variations of this: I ran because I thought y'all were robbers. But the flaw, only guilty people run. And when air units record your every move, the excuse collapses. Data point studies show suspects who flee have a 72% chance of being linked to prior criminal records. Flight is not just panic, it's usually a pattern. Officer, the passenger confirmed it. You were driving. Scene 25. I was scared. The fear defense. Narrator. When suspects face undeniable evidence, they often default to fear-based justifications. Suspect, I got scared. I've been arrested before. I didn't want to go to jail. Commentary. Adrenaline versus accountability. Fear is real, but it doesn't erase consequences. Police recognize human emotion, but public safety can't depend on emotional mercy when weapons or fleeing are involved. Psychological reflection. When under pressure, the body floods with adrenaline. People do irrational things like run, but they still have to face what led them there in the first place. Scene 26. Officer reflections. Why I put on the badge. Narrator. After a long night, officers return to the station. One reflects on his path. Officer talking to camera. Ever since I was a kid, I wanted to do this. Wrestling was the dream, but law enforcement was the calling. Commentary. More than just a job. This statement hits differently when you've seen the night unfold. Officers aren't just responding to chaos, they're absorbing it, living it, and choosing to come back shift after shift. Sociological insight. A 2020 Gallup survey found that 60% of police officers experience daily stress levels that exceed civilian norms. Yet most report they feel a deep sense of purpose. Officer closing line. You never know what you'll face out here, but as long as we serve with honor, we go home proud. Final takeaway. What cops? Season 14 really shows us. Narrator. Let's pause and reflect. This episode wasn't just car chases and crack cocaine. It was a snapshot of American street reality. It showed us that lies unravel faster than you can button your pants. That community tips stop crimes in real time. That roommates can be just as dangerous as strangers. That air units are the unsung heroes of foot pursuits. That respect on both sides goes a long way. Final commentary. What we all can learn from the suspects we learn. Don't escalate. Don't lie. Don't run. The truth always catches up. From the officers we learn patience, controlled teamwork, and the human cost of service. And from the community, your voice matters. That 911 call could stop a burglary or save a life. Narrator voiceover. In the end, Cops Season 14 isn't about the arrests, it's about accountability. For every suspect, for every officer, for every community. Because what happens on these streets matters.